Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to our final lecture for this session. We're going to start now, and I hope that's okay with you. If you could just add in the chat box and let us know how you are, where you are, what the weather is like, anything else you'd like to add in the chat box, and we'll get started. So we've got someone from Jerusalem. Hi there. Hope it's not too hot or humid, or I don't know what the weather is like there. But since we're inside, I'm sure it's fine. Hopefully others will join us. If not, this is being recorded. So
being honest, who actually watches the recordings in full? Do you know?
I don't
I'm
know,
not
but
talking just about this
yeah,
session,
yeah.
but
I think that most of my students prefer, I was just going to ask you, they actually prefer to watch the recordings. Many of them don't attend. I don't make it compulsory with my adult learners. I let them choose, and they always know that it's recorded. And I ask them, why do you prefer the recordings? And they said because it's more convenient. It's not time-based, and they can do it at their own pace. I don't know.
I'm happy to hear.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I that's the same feedback that I got from my students in the first semester that we taught under the new regime. uh, Meaning
The corona, the COVID.
the spring semester of
Oh,
last
okay.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I did is I basically recorded everything in sort of these short TED Talks. So I would do like a 15-minute talk about a subject and then refer them to some kind of Moodle exercise or something like that. And the students said that they loved it. And then in this semester, since the beginning of this year, they basically forced us to have synchronized meetings. They're recorded, but students are forced to attend. They're forced to open cameras, and so there's no more choice for them.
Good point. Thank you, Daphne. You got us started off on exactly that point, and we'll be talking about that. All right, so today is the final of the seminars. We've had 3 so far: a lecture, a panel discussion, a workshop, and this final lecture, which isn't really a lecture because I don't believe in lectures as such. What's going to happen, and I'll be talking about that, is there is an online course in the first semester, which is in the fall of 2021, so that you can take a Moodle. It's on Moodle on how to learn to evaluate online courses. And we're hoping to start a workshop with 5 sessions in the second semester. So what, to me, is the most important aspect of teaching, and that is learning. Hi, Aditya, good to see you. I focus on the learner, and I'll be giving my perspective, and then we'll be discussing it so that we can hear what you have to say, of course, and allowing the learner to do as much as possible. A little bit about me. I started teaching online in 2003 on a Moodle platform as the admin in a high school environment. I collaborated with another school in Montreal. I'm originally from Toronto, and we collaborated on a literature project through the Moodle. She just said, Nellie, here's the admin, do what you can. And I did. I created a web quest, and we had a lot of fun. There were about 80 kids in the Moodle, and we both, Sharon and I, collaborated as we taught. Teaching online is difficult unless you've had practice learning online, and I connect the two. I don't know if any of you have had experience learning online, but it has really helped me to watch other teachers from various areas and their techniques and what happens and the environment and so on. So learning to teach online is facilitated when you take online courses, and we're going to focus on learning as a way to improve instruction and learning. This is a Kahoot challenge. If you could just let me know in the chat or by voice, have you created a Kahoot challenge for your students?
I've created Kahoot. I don't know what's a Kahoot challenge.
Excellent. All right. So you've given a live Kahoot. Is that correct, Daphna?
Yes.
Okay. So there are live Kahoots, and this one is a challenge. What happens with a challenge is that if you notice at the top here, it says open for 5 days. I can choose how long I want it to be open for so that students can go in at any time. They can do it once or a few times. That depends on how I set it up, and do it. So at their own pace. It's not live. You can also have a live, of course, and I usually do it on Zoom because it engages everybody, or they do it. What I also require, and what you're going to do today, is you're going to create a Kahoot challenge so that we can do it later on. This is a live challenge. I don't know if you have your phones and if you're able to access
just
it.
a minute.
Let me see. That's how we usually do it. Students get their phones, and this is not a Kahoot, by the way. It's something else. We're going to do the Kahoot later on. Right now, what I'd like you to do is let me know if you can open it up. Were you able to open it up? I'll see in a minute if you're there. Do you have an account on Padlet? This is a Padlet wall. If you have, let me know. If you don't,
Could you go back to the QR code? Because I did not have it.
Yes, there it is. I can also share the link with you, but then you won't be able to see the screen.
No, I'm in.
Great. All right. Anyone else? Feel free to unmute yourselves and speak, Honey or Shira. Let me know.
I got in fine to the Padlet, but I would actually prefer to see it on the computer. So if you could copy the link.
I'll give you the link.
Chat.
Yes.
And I have a Padlet account if that matters.
Excellent. Yeah, I think, well, usually what I do is I require my students to have an account, and anyone who writes anonymous, I just delete. And I tell them, if you're anonymous, I'm going to delete it. And I just go around deleting so they don't get credit. And I tell them, if you want to get credit, you need to be able to log in. All right, let me just get back to the chat. Anyone else want the link? Prefer the link?
Yes, please.
All right, there we go. And why do you prefer it? If I may ask.
Visibility. I can't see the little letters on the.
Oh, okay. On the phone. Wow. Okay.
And I have two screens, so it doesn't.
Oh, great.
It doesn't interrupt me watching the Zoom, and I can watch it on the big screen.
That's good. So you've got Windows, I presume.
Yeah.
I'm a Mac user, so I try to use my Windows today. I didn't really like the experience. Once you go Mac, you can't go back, as my son says. And I think he's right. Okay, what about the others? How are you doing? Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of reflections here. so that we can get my perspective. Who are you as a learner? Now, you might want to discuss it, and that's fine. You can unmute yourself, ask questions, or kind of self-talk, or you can use the chat if you prefer texting. Who are you as a learner?
You mean what kind of a learner am I?
No, not technical. Anything. It doesn't have to be like, are you a visual or, auditory or
And you want just
how
to
do you
write the
view
answers?
yourself? Yeah, you go to the plus and you just add it. If I go to the
Okay.
plus, I can add who am I as a learner? I would say curious and independent. I like to search for extra work. All right, that's a little bit about me. Okay, I'm curious, independent. I like to do a lot of research. For example, whenever anybody writes anything or they write their ideas, I pick it up and I look for information about it, further information. And I've been doing that since high school. That's who I am as a learner. That's one thing. And Shira's listener extra. Oh, you do that too? Yeah, okay. That's good.
Yeah. Whenever I see something interesting, I go back to check it. Definitely.
Yeah, and get more information, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's
Sometimes
it's learning a lot more. Yes, go ahead.
Sometimes it's irrelevant to the stream of line of the lesson. So it's like irrelevant, but for me, it was more interesting. I mean, not instead of listening to, but otherwise, I take this to whole different
Levels, right? You go with, and then you probably remember, would you say that you remember the actual information better this way when you kind of sidetrack yourself? When you go, yeah. So it's kind of like doodling, but it's very meaningful. Well, maybe doodling is too, I don't know. And Daphne says, curious learner, I tend to interact and talk a lot. Is that Daphne in the face-to-face class? I'm glad you mentioned that.
Oh, I noticed that I ask a lot of questions also nowadays when I go into, into online classes, seminars, whatever.
Yeah. Okay. I would add that too to myself too. I would also say that I talk a lot. I mean, I like to ask questions.
Yes, I can put another note. This is a sign to put a new note.
There's a plus. Do you see it? It's kind of tiny. I can make it larger. Let me get a larger screen here so you could see it better. There's a plus. Do you see the plus?
Yes, but
now it's at the bottom. Yeah, it's tiny.
Who are you as a learner? Where is the plus?
Who are you as a learner? And then who
are you?
Where
is the plus to put under the subject, who are you as a learner?
You're trying to add something there?
Yes, I want to
okay, so let me help you here with, there it is. Oh, that's interesting. I don't see my pencil.
Oh, never mind. Okay.
No, do you see the plus? It's down here at the bottom. I don't know if you can see.
Okay.
There. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I was looking for my pencil. I can't find my pencil. I lost my pencil. I wonder why. Okay. I would add that I like to ask, you can edit it, ask questions. I ask a lot of questions. Last time, I forget who mentioned it, the fact that some students kind of take over the classroom, whether it's face-to-face or online.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned it?
No, I didn't, but
which was a very good point. Okay, great question. All right. Who are you as a teacher? Okay, so I try to notice different personality, try to adjust to changes over time. Okay. So we've got lead them to the right, in the right direction. Shira, that's a hard job, isn't it? To lead them.
Yeah, it would be much easier just to go along with what they want to do. But I find I always remind myself that I have a job and I have to be the leader.
Okay, we'll be talking about that. Great. Okay, creative. Smadar, can you explain? I like that.
Creative?
Yes.
I try to do each lesson very different. That the face of the model look different, the interaction different, the what the student need to do different. Sometimes write on a forum, sometimes to do two person together, sometimes just write the individual blog, sometimes share the blogs. Every time it's a different feeling, a different mission to do. I want to be surprised what will be this week. The teacher surprised me. And I know that the student like it very much.
That's great. That's great. All right. So is that because they like it or you get bored with doing the same thing or maybe both?
I tried not to do it boring, that they need, for example, on Mondays, they have a lesson and they need to do something and make a list they finished. I want they learn, they exciting, they think about it. They will be some experiments.
So it's not something personal in you that kind of drives you to do
kind
that.
Kind of me. When I when I taught face-to-face in the college many years ago, also I dress different. I put the chairs different in the class. I put music, many things.
You like to be creative.
Yes.
That's it. All right. What did you write as a learner? I'm curious.
I want to put the curious and I make
Okay.
a mistake and put it here.
As a learner, do you also do things differently? Like, do you try to vary how you learn or anything as a learner?
I think so. I'm a very pedantic person. So everything, if you, as a student, I need to read something, I read all and do all the misses and everything. Yes.
So your teachers must have loved you.
Yes, I get very high level of end of semester when they need to feel about me.
Okay, so let's see, is online instruction and learning any different? So for me, online teaching is different from teaching in the classroom in two major ways. Everything takes much longer online. About half of what I used to teach, secondly, because of the, can you explain that? Why it takes longer?
I wish I would, I wish I knew. It's just a fact, you know, I used to teach and it happens in all the courses. I only get to teach you know, the amount of material that I can put in is about half of what I used to be able to put in class. That's just a fact. I can't move it forward enough. They ask questions. It's anyway. So
wait a minute. What you're saying is content-wise, you have to break it down because there's too much going on.
Well, it seems that definitely that when I was teaching in class, I was able, let's say, were able to go deeply and thoroughly through 3 scientific papers, and now this time I could only do it with 1 scientific paper from start to finish for the entire semester. It's just and I don't know why. I really don't know why. I mean, they asked questions when we were in class too. um it's it's um it's and I understand I'm not the only one. I mean, I understand that my colleagues are in the same position.
No, but you're saying that they're asking the same amount of questions. So it's not like they're asking more online.
No, I don't think so. No.
And I think face to face would probably take more time because, talking is
Yeah,
a lot longer. Your voice takes longer than,
right. I don't know. Maybe it's the transitions between the passive active parts in class that take longer. So we break into rooms, right? We do something
I
and
see
then
you're
we go
talking.
back.
It's Zoom. It's not as synchronous. You're not talking about Moodle. You're
No,
talking.
no, no.
Oh my
I'm talking
gosh.
online
Oh, of
teaching.
course. Okay, I got you. Okay, so for most people these days, okay, so for me, online courses is mostly asynchronous using Moodle,
Oh,
and
I'm
it's
sorry.
less.
No.
No, you don't have to be sorry. I'm glad we clarified that, but I realized that now it's a lot more Zooming, and the administration seems to think that that's instead of face to face, and it's definitely not.
No,
Okay, so
I just can't. I can't manage
of
to put
course
in the amount
not.
of work that I used to.
Of course not.
The
Of
amount
course
of
not.
content.
Because it's not the same. It's definitely not the same.
It's not.
As far as Zoom, Zooming is really,
Right.
some people do 8 hours a day.
Wow.
Teachers teach. Yeah. Yeah, it's bad. All right, let's see if we get any other comments here. Shira says is different. Okay, so when you say different, are you referring to Zoom-like or Moodle or both?
Yeah, I actually I started thinking about Zoom because this is what we mostly do, but I have actually like blended courses that they have 1 Zoom session a week and 1 asynchronous. So it's actually both. But learning, I thought you were talking about myself as a learner. When I attend Zooms or I take courses online, I feel there's less room or less time for me to ask questions to develop a discussion. It's not.
Okay, you're talking about Zoom, these Zoom meetings. You're not talking about Moodle or anything like that.
Right.
So you're talking about more voice and less text because okay, so all right, so we're coming from 2 different places apparently. I'm coming from Moodle or from an LMS where there's a lot going on and where you could probably get a lot more done because the questions are all by text or by voice. They can use record their voices, but it's all there for anyone to come back and see. Where on Zoom, it kind of, disappears.
Yeah.
It's gone.
I'm coming also from Moodle and Zoom.
Okay, so what do you have to say, honey? I would be very curious.
I can. They have in the Moodle. I can show also, but they have in the Moodle all the articles, all the content of the course, especially all the tasks they have, and also forums. And then we have 6 Zoom meeting, synchronous, or it's recording also. So somebody that can't take part in Zoom synchronous, so he can watch the
recording.
It's wonderful.
Yes, of course.
Face to face, because everybody in my class can have his voice in Moodle. And
exactly.
When I give them a task, so I can see 26 or 27 response, and they respond to each other also. So it's a very interactive.
That's right.
It's wonderful.
Good. So are you the only one actually doing a blended format or hybrid where you teach both with an LMS?
Because I'm teaching in the Open University, and
I see.
I'm teaching with
all my courses are with Moodle. It does, one thing doesn't contradict the other.
But can't you get a lot more done on the Moodle with the discussions and everything and the questions there rather than have the questions face to face?
Well, I guess it depends on the courses you teach. I teach bioinformatics. I have to show them how to use databases and software. And so we do it together. So we might have break rooms where they will actually, do what I just showed, but we still do it in class. What's left to do outside of class is mostly, there is work, but then we'll come back and we will make sure that everybody succeeded. So
can't they practice? Can't they practice what they're doing and create videos or something to show you that they've understood? Have you tried that maybe?
I have questions that show me if they understand what they're doing.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I have Moodle quizzes like 3 in a session. It's not.
I see.
Yeah.
All right.
Another aspect is.
Oh,
sorry, go ahead, Yaditya. Sorry, we haven't heard from you yet.
yeah. I have, when I teach now at University of Charleston, I teach it's a program online, and it's something similar to what Hani mentioned. It's mostly asynchronous, but every week we have a synchronous meeting, and they have to be prepared. And we have the synchronous interaction. They work as a team, and also they interact. I have questions, they ask questions, and they need to prepare and read or watch a film or video.
So it's flipped learning. It's like, it's flipped learning, right? Where they
so it's a combination of a flip. They need to come ready in order for them to be able to discuss and ask questions about the content that they read or watched.
So we've got a few ideas here. We've got the hybrid or fully online with Moodle and with Zoom, which is what Daphna does, but that you have to do that because they have to practice live with you. And then we have the flipped kind, and we have Honey's where it's a combination also of Zoom and Moodle. How would you like to evaluate your course? Now, I wrote, how would you like? So that you have the freedom to choose.
Do we need to write, or can we respond?
Well, that's a very good question. In a large class, I would require you to write, okay? Because not everybody can speak, and then, people can explain maybe what they meant. But since this is a small group, yes, you can express yourself, of course. Yes, Daphna.
Well, I mean, there are two things here. I would like to evaluate how the students felt about the course, okay? And for that, any kind of validated questionnaire or my own personal questions to go with it, and the candid answers and anonymous answers from the students would be wonderful. And I do it, and also the college does it, so I get a feedback. But also personally, I would like to see that they actually understood what I taught. At least they understand how, they answer questions that I think I taught the subject about correctly. So I would like to evaluate the course also by the success of quizzes in Moodle, the final exam, and things like that.
How does that work for you? How does it work with the quizzes? Are you able to get the information or tests that you give? Does that help?
Yeah, no, of course. Okay. I mean, I get the answers, and I compare, individual learners' style of when did they approach the quizzes? Did they do it really when we were in class, or did some of them, because they do it, they supposedly start the quiz with us, but then they actually trail off and they don't really do it while we're working on it. And how does that compare to the final exam, which is also in Moodle? And so yeah, there is information that I would like to extract and compare, and since I was teaching that way also before going online. I would like to compare the two, this entire, quantitative aspect of, before the COVID-19 outbreak and now during the COVID-19 outbreak.
But there would be a lot of parameters, wouldn't there? Because of the, the mental situation, emotional, and that is part of COVID. So it's not really a normal, I don't know. But I guess you would get a lot of information. People are trying to do that, by the way. There is research being conducted around the world to see how COVID has influenced learners in fully online as well.
I started looking into that.
Yeah, very interesting. All right, and we've got Shira who says compare learning outcomes. Okay, that's and compare it to the face-to-face. There's need for that, Shira. It would be great if teachers would. Apparently, there aren't enough research studies comparing face-to-face in a good way. Okay, there are some studies that were done about 10 years ago, but not really current studies comparing the two. Good studies in any case. All right. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, one very short comment. I was just trying to avoid a form of evaluation that will actually take into account the students' responses or the students' feedback, because I'm almost positive most of them would be negative about studying online. It was such a surprise for them and they didn't ask for it, and many of them are not doing well. So I would not use that as my measure to evaluate my course. The fact that students are complaining doesn't mean that this course is bad. It's just different. And
I have to say that it's not the feedback that I got from students. I mean, they were in shock at the beginning, but even during the first semester of COVID, I saw the transition, and by the second semester, they were all ready for it. And actually, a questionnaire that we pass now in going back to face-to-face, 60% of them didn't want to go back. They love the Zoom, it gives them more flexibility. So no, they're at least from what I see, they're totally fine with this system.
Yeah, apparently it depends on what you do with them, not you personally, but how the whole approach.
Also the age group. I mean, are
that
you
too.
The same age group?
Yeah, that too. Young learners just want to meet their friends. They're, it's not about learning. But with the older learners, I guess online has always been, very appealing because they, they can work regularly and they can do their work in the middle of the night or whatever. So there are lots of, work at your own pace with the online, with the older learners. All right, so we're going to continue here. I've asked you what learning is for you. I would ask you, if we had time, I'm not sure we're going to have time, but to create a Kahoot challenge and to add the information so that your students can learn about you, and you can learn about them. This could be, something that you could ask them. Not who are you as a teacher, but who are you as a learner? What kind of learner? Let them, elicit the information so that, they think about themselves, who am I as a learner? I mean, you had to think, right? And it might take them to places that they had no ideas about. And maybe they would, their feedback would be a lot better because they would be taking, who they are as learners and then thinking about themselves. What are they doing as learners? So a Kahoot challenge is something that we'll see if we have time later on so that you can try it out. My perspectives, as I said, I've been teaching for a long time, online, both blended and fully online at various universities around the world, and face-to-face as well. With technology and with Moodle. I haven't stopped using Moodle since 2003. I can't live without Moodle. I plan all my courses and lessons and everything on Moodle. Moodle is my anchorage, I guess. So for me, online learning has really opened up doors and windows, and it has really broadened my outlook on life, on myself. It's done a lot of amazing things. I also did my dissertation, my doctoral dissertation on blended learning and teachers' perspective in higher education on using blended learning. This was a long time ago, over 10 years ago, when people were actually teaching online when they didn't have to, but by choice. So for me, teaching is learning. And technology does empower not only me, but teachers who are involved in teaching online, asynchronous, with maybe one Zoom a week or a few Zooms a semester, not too many Zooms. And creative. It also showed me creative ways of using technology for instruction and learning. So it's, and when you talk about technology and creativity, Smadar, as you mentioned, it's just another tool. You know, it could be different pictures in the classroom, or, you know, designing, moving the chairs around, or using the chairs as technology. As a teacher, teachers, in my perspective, are continuously learning about learning. That's what we learn. And we're constantly focusing on our students, or at least I focus on my students. Look at them, I try to follow them, I try to discuss this with them and ask them. And I learn a lot about learning through them. I also learn how to support them. So every time they ask a question, and I'm sure this happens to you too, every time they ask a question, I learn how to support them and how to improve whatever I'm doing, whether it's my instructions or how I interact with them, how I speak to them, everything about my communication with them, I learn from their questions and support. I also change as I give classes. I change both personally and professionally. I think I've become a more confident person due to my teaching, even though I was confident when I started teaching for some reason, and then I lost my confidence, but I regained it. This is something that teachers, I think, all go through. Sometimes we are not sure of what we're doing, and sometimes we're sure of what we're doing. But this is something that I'll be talking in a minute. And of course, creativity, as was also mentioned, that as a teacher, I can do a lot of things. I can try different things and be as creative as I can. The student also learns about learning through online learning, because they're constantly faced with questions about what's happening to them because I ask them. I constantly ask them how they feel, and I ask them to reflect on the process. And they learn, at least they tell me that they learn through this process. And they also claim that they learn life skills, which is my goal too. I want them to be able to be independent learners and to be able to share and deal in some way with their feelings, especially negative feelings. And they do discuss whatever they're going through. And I find that through these ongoing conversations that they have, through their reflections, they grow. They grow as people, and it's nice to watch them as they do. And they do become creative. I've shared this with you, and I'm sharing it again. These are some of the things that I do in the classroom, in the online classroom. And I'm not referring to Zoom, I'm referring to an LMS such as Moodle. I ask my students as they learn, and that's why I asked you as well, Daphne, I asked them to document their understanding. So they're constantly creating videos, and they share the videos. It's part of their work to show me what they understood, and that's how I learn about better ways to support them. They share it with their peers, and their peers can learn from their mistakes and from what they do right, and they kind of follow them. So it gives everyone confidence, so that it's okay to make mistakes and it's okay to follow each other, even though everybody does the video slightly different. I've never had two videos that were exactly the same. They use different video screen sharing recording tools such as Awesome, which is completely free. Flipgrid, I don't know how many of you have used Flipgrid. I think I've asked this question before. Flipgrid has a recording feature. You can record the screen as well through Flipgrid, same as Vimeo and Screencast-O-Matic. These are all free. And they simply communicate through the screen. They show me what they understood. And if it's text, they go through the text and explain, you know, what was difficult, what was easy to understand, if they have any questions. And
another thing with the Flipgrid that I like is that they can write comments or you know, record a comment back, that there is another interaction with the student. So that's another good feature.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The whole idea, of course, from my perspective, what I focus on is student interaction. That's what I want. That's what I hope. That's what I'm there for. I'm there, as someone mentioned, to lead. But the leading is kind of not to force them to do things, but just to kind of direct them in the direction that I'd like them to go. So they use other interactive PowerPoint presentations, such as AHA slides, Nearpod that allows for questions, and also for their voice, so they can record their voices, Edpuzzle, where they can create different presentations, and of course Mentimeter. I don't really like Mentimeter because of the price, and now Edpuzzle has also become kind of greedy, but they're pretty good even with the free. And they showcase their work as well as reflect and provide feedback. That's what I do for every activity. What I'm after is learner autonomy. I'd like them to be independent learners where they feel that they're kind of driving, even though I'm leading, but I'd like to give them the sense that they have a say. Yes, go ahead.
I have a question regarding to presentations. Are you familiar? I just learned about a new digital tool, eMaze, that you
of course.
Yes. Presentation, and it creates like a gallery. It's like with a 3D.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I haven't used it. I just learned about it. So I was wondering if you used it and what was the reaction from the learners?
They found it kind of complicated. It's great. That's one of the problems with you know, some of these you know, PowerPoint tools. Some of them are too sophisticated for the students. There's a learning curve that they don't want to go through. You know, if it's not simple, they you know, they don't choose it. So that's why the screen is so easy for them, and they can show me exactly, it's very quick. And that's what they like. They like it to be fast, and then they can get more involved. But yeah, eMaze is amazing. It's been around for quite a few years. But yes, it's nice.
Really? I just heard about it. So.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. I haven't used it for a while. I should get back to it. What I'm after with my learners is, as I said, is for them to engage with each other. I want them to be able to not only, and this is something that I aspire for, I want them to be able to not only see themselves, but to see each other. And that's where I prepare them for teamwork, so that they can appreciate another human being as someone that is valued. And this is something that I work on kind of indirectly. They don't really know what's happening to them, but I kind of try to direct them. I don't tell them, okay, this is something that I don't do. I don't tell them how to behave. I don't tell them, don't do this, don't do that. But I encourage them in different ways to engage with each other. And then they love working together. This is something that is not easy to do. So lots of interactions and engagements. And I follow Jean-Paul Martin. I started this before I knew about him, but I give him credit. He started this in the early 80s. It's learning by teaching. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but the idea is that the students teach each other. And Jean-Paul Martin is a German who teaches French. And he let his students, and I've tried this in my classes with young learners, high school learners, where with English as a second and foreign language, where they teach even grammar points. They teach each other and they do an amazing job. They can do it individually, but I prefer it in teams because I believe in teamwork and I think that it helps them. And intrinsic motivation. How do you get intrinsic motivation? I get it with action. The minute they work, they get motivated. That's my experience. And of course, there are different techniques to help the learner become autonomous and learn to peer teach and peer learn. It takes a lot of practice, but it starts with me and letting go. It took me a long time as a teacher. You know, we like to be in control, but after, I guess maybe mindfulness helped me, I don't know. Or my children, you know, it could have been my children. I sometimes say that my children taught me everything I know. You know, learning through, especially with teenagers, I learned a lot on how to behave in the classroom. You know, what do students want from me? What don't they want from me? And what I found was that letting go of control gave me a lot of control, which is kind of strange. So letting go. And when you mention lead, you know, without control, Thich Nhat Hanh has an amazing book that came out last year called Happy Teachers Change the World. Being happy. And I think this is something that you'll know and notice about yourself and your teachers, that the minute a happy teacher walks into the classroom and the teacher is happy, in a good mood, that changes everything. You know, I used to say, if you want a classroom to listen to you, go into that classroom, even a really, really tough classroom with tough students, high school students, go in and smile. You know, just that smile. They might not notice you at first, but just standing there saying nothing and just smiling at them works if you have the patience, because you really have to believe in this. So happy teachers do change the world. And the problem is, from my perspective, what I found was that I was forced to think that I had to control and use a lot of ought to. This should be happening, and it's not happening. What will other teachers say if the classroom is too loud? What if the principal or the manager or someone walks in and they're all making a lot of noise? What happens if I'm not controlling? All these questions used to come up. Will the students like me? Maybe they won't like me. Will we get fired? Will I get fired if I don't do what I'm supposed to do? If the students don't get, you know, high grades or the feedback is low? And will they pass the grades, of course? These are questions that popped into my mind, and a lot of blame. So the tyranny of ought is letting go of blame. I'm not to blame. The students aren't to blame. The system's not to blame. Nobody's to blame. There's no blame. The minute I let go of blame, things started changing. And I think with COVID, we've learned a lot, but this is pre-COVID, okay? This is years before COVID, when I realized as time went that things just happen. I have no control. I can't control what happens to me. I can't control what happens to my family members. I can't control really anything except for a few things. But whatever happens, all the circumstances are not up to me. So let go, Nellie. So that's what I did. I let go. I started doing mindfulness in the classroom. I dared to do mindfulness. I didn't call it mindfulness. I didn't call it meditation. I called it relaxing. I started it before exams. I would get the students and ask them, do you want a relaxation exercise? Yes, yes. They were so happy to do it. And then eventually they asked for it, which is what it's about. It's daring to do things that may be, you know, we might not have control, which is fine. So letting go of what's best for others, letting go of I'm the only expert, I know best. No, Nellie, you don't know best. Letting go of fixing things for students. Oh my gosh, the student didn't well. Let me fix it. I'll fix it. I'm not Mr. Fix It. And don't let them make mistakes. Let's prevent them from making mistakes. I let go of all of these things. I didn't show them. I let them make mistakes. It's fine. And I didn't try to control the right answer. I didn't try to probe and force them to give me the right answer. What's wrong with giving the wrong answer? And I encouraged them every time somebody would give the wrong answer. I didn't say wrong or that's not correct. I said, wonderful. That's the correct answer for you. Let me tell you what I was thinking of. It was never wrong. That's not right. And I encouraged them to ask questions. And that was hard. That was probably the hardest part. What I found was that empathy and caring for my students saved me from burnout. In other words, when a student was really, really mean and, I had a hard time, as many teachers have, because students said the wrong thing, or parents or the administrator or the principal, and feeling really, really bad. What I would do is I would focus on the student and I would send caring messages and I would never blame. So it takes practice, but it's possible to learn how to show empathy. And once I learned how to do this, I was able to also, as I said, lead my students in that direction. And that's what I do. How do you do it? With instructions. Very, very simple. How do you give instructions? Okay, you can open your mics, turn on your videos. How do you give instructions? So there's no should, ought to, where the student can feel comfortable and yet follow the instructions.
I say let's. Let's do this. Let's do that.
Okay, that sounds good. Not threatening at all. Anyone else?
I say we're going to divide two groups, so we're going now to the computer room, and from there we'll ta-ta-ta-ta-ta.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think also I use let's and
okay,
because we're in here together. And I think
to give that feeling. What about options? What about choices?
Oh, when they have an assignment, you either can
instructions.
Do this and, okay, with the instructions. Yeah.
Yes.
That's I think for me it depends on the goal for that lesson in particular, because the content has to I need to decide what will be the best way to teach a certain content, because sometimes it's better to work with a team, sometimes like with partners, and sometimes like a whole class discussion. And according to that, the instructions. So, we give them.
So would you have choices in that? Would you let them choose?
When you say to choose, either working with a team,
instructions,
or a partner, or
yes,
I think I would limit that, that free choice. Like I would give them a choice within a certain structure. That's because sometimes I feel like because of the time consuming, it's like it takes a while, and for me, it's important that they will start getting to work right away, and because we have only limited synchronous time.
Oh, so you're
So
talking about the Zoom-like meetings.
yeah, it's like in my university we use Collaborate, for the
Yeah.
synchronous
Mhm.
meeting, but for the other assignments, they can do different things, and
Okay, so we're talking about written instructions in your case. There's verbal instructions, and if you're doing an LMS, it would be by text or video. You could have a video where you're giving the instructions. So would you give choices in an LMS where it's the time is maybe more lenient, more flexible? This is open to
again,
everybody, of course.
it's just like it depends on the content, and also I have the the director of the program. They like to have certain things, and this is something
So you're
that I would
limited.
like to change.
Yeah.
So it's like being okay, you have to follow this. So
Protocol,
again,
whatever.
within so
Yeah.
So sometimes there is like a weekly assignment, and that has to be done. But for example, I might be lenient in the due date.
Okay.
So they have a choice.
But what about choice? Like you can finish this by
Exactly.
that or by that. It's up to you.
Right. It's supposed to be ready for next week. You don't have to do it today after class, but actually, since we're going over the material now, I suggest that you do it today.
So you're still suggesting, you're not leaving it open.
No, I mean, it's.
No, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. I'm just raising questions. All right. Activities, that would be the same, instructions and activities. Would you give choices for activities? Or would that be because of time constraints? That would be not just you, anyone. Yes.
Can I share something a bit like personal? I have a class that is very not cooperative. So I wanted to do like a station rotation. And I said to myself, they could choose whichever activity they want to do. Again, this is a synchronous kind of setting, but they also had activities on Moodle. And I wanted to give like 4 different topics. And I said to myself, I will let them choose. They can choose whichever topic, suits them. But, and they were working in rooms, and they also had to complete the assignments on Moodle. But I had 2 students telling me, well, we don't like any of the topics.
Oh, you gave them a choice. In other words, you gave them a list of topics and they had to choose, not like go choose whatever. Okay.
So some of them was just working in all the stations. They did all 4 topics. This was like my expectation, but I was open to the idea that they would choose 3 out of the 4 and not do the final one, or the first one, which was very easy for them. So they just skipped to the second one. But I was really upset at myself that I wasn't ready to accept the fact that some students would prefer not to do any of the topics. Would that be a legitimate choice?
Well, they would have to take responsibility. That's the idea. The idea behind choices, you have choices, but whatever the consequence is on you. If you chose, this and you didn't do well, or if you couldn't find a topic, that's your choice. You made your choice. Your choice was not to do the assignment because none of the topics, and then, whatever consequence came out of that, that's on you. So in other words, giving choices is not like, chaos. It's allowing them to choose, but what your choice is yours and the consequences are on you. You're going to be accountable for whatever choice you make.
So on the one hand, I wanted to give choice, but I was not that good at the other end of telling them, well.
Yeah, well, you have to do it beforehand. That's the thing. You can't do it after the fact, because then it's like you're cornered and it's your fault, which is another thing about the blame. Okay, that's where the blame comes in, kind of teaching them and yourself that blame is not an option. Nobody's to blame. There's no blame in the world, in in our learning world. Okay, there is in the world, of course, but maybe less blame would make this world a better place. That's my philosophy. So allow choices and reflect on the choice. In other words, okay, they made a mistake. They couldn't find a topic, they got stuck. Whatever happened, that's a learning experience. And the idea is to get them to reflect so that next time, maybe they'll be, better at making choices. So you allow them to make choices, they reflect on the choice, whatever they chose, they write about it, they assess themselves on their choice. And they also explain the task. What was the task? So that you get an idea of, what they did. The idea, of course, is to turn learning into a change. Have them change, because that's what we want. Learning is change, and it takes practice. The idea is to help them develop and strengthen certain life skills that we believe in. And what I do, as I said, I do this in the classroom. When the classroom, face-to-face classroom, you can't do this on Zoom. Well, you can do this on Zoom, but they won't see you unless everybody's focusing on you and not on something else. But in the face-to-face classroom, this is what I do. I stand in front of them and I breathe. I don't do it like this with my hands, of course. And that's when it gets really, really quiet. It's almost like the smile. But this can be done on a regular basis before the class begins, in the middle. And today it's quite popular. When I started this, I had to be careful. It wasn't very popular, and I had to make sure that nobody thought that I was trying to teach Buddhism or something, because in those days, meditation was associated with religion of some kind, and Buddhism specifically. So breathe, teaching them how to breathe. I also teach them, by the way, how to sit. You could do different things in the classroom so that they don't feel like you're pushing information at them. So breathing is great. And of course, teaching them to take responsibility, whatever choices they make. It's not just learning autonomy and chaos, it's learning to be responsible. You made a choice, as I said, that's your responsibility. Whatever you do, if you're working on a team, you decide that's your responsibility, whatever role you decide to take, and explaining that in advance. And you need to explain this both to adults as well as to younger learners. Everybody needs to understand what you mean. I follow peer learning. Everybody teaches everyone else. As I said, it's learning by teaching. I used to call it teaching as a way to learn until I found Jean-Paul, or he found me. He even added me to Wikipedia, because that's where he is, and I thought that was very sweet. Peer learning and feedback and reflection. In peer learning, as I said, I'll just sum it up. They do interactive presentations together as a team. Each one does a PowerPoint slide or two. They collaborate. It's not the one person does it for everybody. They create video tutorials individually, not as a team, and they showcase their work, feedback. They do self-reflection, and they reflect on themselves. I don't give them the pleasure of blaming, the teacher, you didn't do this, you were not good, you hurt my feelings, you said this, you said that, he bothered me, she bothered. No blame. They reflect on their work, on how they do things, how you did it, why you did it. And they also reflect on how they would do it in the future. So I did it this way, in the future I might want to do it this way. The more they reflect on themselves, they take more responsibility and they become accountable for whatever happens in the course. If they didn't do so well on the course, their grades were not as high as they expected, they understand why. And they don't blame anybody. And that's one way of not getting blamed for things, if you're interested. And they also discuss their progress, their goals, and whether they reach their goals or not. So there's a lot of learning about learning. which is metacognition, as we all know, and consequences. Whatever they do, they are accountable for the consequences. It's not blame, it's just the steps that you took that you might want to change next time. Change your choices. Maybe you can make other choices. And your engagement, maybe you weren't engaged enough. Maybe you can change that and become more engaged. Do I have to engage you? No, you can find ways to engage yourself. You've got a choice. You can do this or you can do that. You can work individually or you can work on teams. If you work on teams, and that's your choice, okay, I always give them a choice. Team, I prefer that they work in teams, but I still give them that choice. And then they realize, oh my gosh, I had to do so much work. I might be better off on a team. And then they decide to work in teams. And the ongoing conversations. Teamwork is about talking. You can do a lot of talking, a lot of listening, and it's fun. And they enjoy that very much. And the collaboration, they learn to actually collaborate. You give them different roles on the team and they follow their roles. So peer learning is what it's all about. Are there any questions up to here before I go on? All right, so let me continue here. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask at any time. About the tools. Now, this is mostly for teachers because my students teach each other and they manage, but you can do it. The tools that you use, if you try it and you fail again, failure is actually the next step to success. You will succeed and you will be able to do it. Try new things, as Smadar said, try new things all the time. You know, dare to try to make changes, even if you're limited by time and so on. Try to let go and enjoy the tools that you use. If you're using Moodle, if you're using Zoom or whatever you're using, enjoy it. And let your students do the work. You get paid, but they get so much more when they do it. And they can do it through videos. Let them create videos instead of, you know, working hard and doing all the videos yourself and doing the learning yourself. Let them create the videos, whatever topic it is. Let them teach. Whether they're young, everyone likes to share information and teach. They love it at every age. That's what they enjoy, each other's company and teaching each other. They enjoy it more than, you know, learning from teachers. They enjoy the engagement, but you can support them on the side. So what is assessment and what is evaluation? When we talk about course evaluation, we're talking about the whole course. We're talking about the student feedback, how the students feel. And you mentioned that at the beginning when we discussed it on the Padlet. And it's your reflections too. How many of you reflect in writing for yourself on the courses or the Zoom meetings that you have? Have you sat down at least once maybe and reflected on what happened, or do you kind of do it in your head?
I do it in my head. Actually, I try to do it after each lecture or a meeting, sort of to you know, to ask myself how it was, what did I think, are there things that I have to go back and talk about again in my next meeting with the students, or is everything okay as it was and we can continue. And then I try to also think of it at the end of the course, not just by getting the feedback from, you know, the college because it's mandatory and I get it. I get a sort of an evaluation of the course, but I really try to you know, sit and look at the entire course. Did it work this time? Are there things that need to be changed for next year? in my mind. And you know, one of the best ways I think to do this sort of reflection is to do research on my courses. So that's on the to-do list.
That's it. And that would be great, not only for you, Daphna, but for us too, if you share it with us. And that's what we're going to discuss, action research for improvement. How many of you have conducted action research?
But not for my own course.
Can you explain?
Yeah, action research by looking at the process that the students went through. Not for the purpose of publishing or something, but
Oh, no, I'm not. You don't have to publish. You can.
yeah.
So you have conducted on what?
A course.
On a course? Okay. And how did it go? Did you implement?
So.
No, I mean, no, did you implement whatever change you came up with? Did you try the implementation, or you never reached that?
No, the idea is to learn from the process and to do something a little different next time.
Yes, exactly. So did you do it? Did you implement excellent. And you did another research on that too?
No.
Oh, you didn't go that far.
It's a lot of work.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
work.
is. Which, you know, but I encourage teachers whenever I can to do it, because it would be great if we all did it. Imagine how much knowledge we would gain from each other from, you know, conducting action research for improvement. There's a video here. I'll share the PowerPoint with you. I don't want to go through it, but it's from a course that I gave online. Maybe I'll just let you listen to a little bit of it.
Hello everyone, my name is Zainab Musavi. I'm going to talk about how an online course, such as evaluating online courses, engages me as a student. First of all, I'd like to present 3 types of interactions that are effective in engaging students in their learning. They are learner-learner interaction, learner-instructor interaction, and learner-content interaction. For providing learner-learner interaction, discussion and feedback from other students can help students' engagement.
Okay, I stopped because I noticed it's 6 minutes, it's a bit long. What I wanted to point out, this is what I do. This is what students do. This is what I mean when I say peer learning, teaching as a way to learn. They provide the, through their videos, they actually teach each other. And the topics are more or less the same, unless there's a choice. And each one presents it in different ways. You notice that this particular student is from Iran, actually. I think she's living somewhere else, not in Iran right now, in Malaysia. She's living in Malaysia. She left Iran to study. She's, I think, doing her master's at the moment. But the idea is she has come a long way. She's taken a few courses, online courses. She's come a long way where she can feel comfortable. She's not a native speaker of English. Feel comfortable presenting information on learner engagement. That was the topic that she gave her talk on. You can, she gave me permission, by the way, to use the video to share it. You can listen to it later on. These are, when we talk about action research, these are some of the methods of data collection that we use. I'm sure you're all familiar with it, but I really encourage you to think about action research. I'm giving a course. I've been giving this course since 2016 on MOFET. It's a course on evaluating and measuring online courses. And the outcome is actually working on an action research. We're not going to go through this. even though it's very, very short. Do you want to listen to it, or we could do it
Yeah,
later
yeah.
on? Oh, you're curious. All right. I think it's going to take me to YouTube. So I'll make it larger here. You can hear me 4 years ago. This is what I sounded like. Let me know when it comes through. My name is Nellie Deutsch, and I'd like to introduce you to an online course called Evaluation and Measurement of Online Courses. The course will include 2 webinars using Blackboard Collaborate. Participants of the course will interact with the content of the course with the other members and the instructor. The topics will include evaluating and measuring the layout, instructional design, and learning outcomes of online courses and programs. The participants will identify the criteria involved in evaluating online courses. They will learn how to apply action research to evaluate and measure online instruction and learning, so that by the end of the course, participants will be able to define face-to-face, blended, and fully online courses. The course is for you, whether you're teachers, future teachers, current teachers, and educators who wish to improve instruction and learning in an online course format. So everyone's welcome, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the course. Yes, that was 5 years ago, not 4 years ago. Let's go back here. As I said, I think what's valuable about these courses, online courses, is the fact that learning online helps us as teachers improve our online engagement. The more we take courses, the better perspective we get of what it's like to teach online. And the course is on a Moodle platform. I feel very comfortable on Moodle, and I do a lot of, I think as Smadar said, I change the furniture a lot. And I think Smadar, you also mentioned that you do a lot of different things on the Moodle. I believe that Moodle has the features, and it really does, different plugins, resources, and activities and blocks that really allow the teacher to do so much. And I think we've reached almost. All right, so now it's time for a few questions, and then we'll get to the Kahoot. Let me just go back here. Stop screen sharing so I can see you. Hi there. I love this part. This is where we see everybody. So you can open your cameras if you like. There we go. So what do you think? Do you think that it's worthwhile taking an online course? How many of you have taken online courses? Yes. So can you unmute yourselves? Yes, you can, right? I don't have to give you permission. So a little feedback on the online course. Where was it? Was it a MOOC maybe? Yes, go ahead, Rosanna.
I took three courses on positive psychology, which has nothing to do with what I teach, but it was for my personal interest. I think it was Yale University who gave this series of courses. I initially wanted to take one, but it was interesting, so I continued.
That's great. And how was it if you had to?
It was very good. It was because the questions were, some of the questions were very personal, and the group was, I don't know, in the tens of thousands of participants. I didn't, from all over the world, I didn't feel comfortable writing everything for them, but I did it for myself. So because you don't have to hand in the papers, I didn't do it, I didn't pay for it, so I didn't do it for a diploma or something. I did it for myself. So
how would you like to change? I mean, if you could, what would you have changed there so that you could.
It was very well done. It was obvious that they invested a lot of time, money, energy in planning and in preparing this.
So it wasn't just one teacher
No,
responsible.
no,
Yeah, it's when
was,
you have the resources like that, you know, when you
yeah.
have a director for the movies and this,
Yes,
it's a complete different story.
It
And you know,
was, yeah.
TAs for the sessions and whatnot.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the same league.
Exactly.
But what about interactions? It bothered me when you said that you didn't participate because you missed out on something amazing.
No, I did some of the things, but some of the questions were too personal. I didn't feel that I wanted to share it with total strangers from all over the world, but it helped me because it was like writing a diary.
I see.
For myself.
Were there teams? Did they have teams? Teams maybe?
They had four people in charge of this. They had short videos of 10 to 15 minutes each, with explanations, with practice, with questions, and then there was some group work of possibility to join groups, and also possibility to receive feedback and to give feedback.
But was there a lot of technology like H5P and all kinds of online gamings and stuff like that?
No,
Probably
no,
not.
none
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But
Daphne, why do you mention that, Daphne?
Because I think, you know, I did not take a lot of professional, like big university type courses online, but I took a few to notice the immense differences between the, you know, the course that I can put on with my capabilities and the ones that there can be put up when you have a big budget and a lot of people working at each of them with their own professional, you know, contribution to things. So I think, I mean, it's an intuition, but I think that when I design my courses in Moodle, I use a lot of technology in it. Okay, the quizzes and the Google forms and the games that the Moodle has and stuff like that. And I also respond to the students and stuff. But it's all low. You know, it has this low tech feel to it because it's just me, you know, and I'm not a professional in editing and making everything so wowy and with the music and with the feeling that goes with it.
But why do you have to do it? Why can't the students do it? Like that student of mine.
No, I'm just talking about how things look. I'm not saying about the content.
No, I'm talking about what about the quality? What about the I mean, what about the engagement?
I hope that the students do feel that they're engaged. It's just will never look like, you know, the big professional universities.
By the way, one of these 3 MOOCs that I took was had only one instructor. But even the one that had one instructor, you could feel that there was a lot of help that they were getting, not to mention the fact that, you know, when you have several thousands or 10 of thousands, I don't remember, of participants, a lot of things are done by the participants themselves, checking the homework, the so-called homework, you know, you assess someone else's. And that's interesting in itself. I mean, you see what people write, how they react to different questions. And
no, that's excellent. That you can do on Moodle too. You can have students assessing, you know, each other, giving ratings and so on. That's okay. That's great because many of the old MOOCs didn't have that. It was all, you know, content based and videos and no interactions at all. So I'm glad that they have that. Smadar, you wanted to say something? I thought I saw you wanting to say something.
I teach as a distance learning many years ago, about almost 20 years as a student, and I think I have a lot of experiments, but every year I change, and at the end of the semester I ask students to feel, without names, of course, what they feel about the course, what they want to change, what's easy, not easy. And I also use דוחות, I forget the word.
מה את רוצה להגיד?
דוחות באנגלית.
Reports.
I also think the time. I use a lot of the reports from the Moodle. It's very interesting. How many students enter to each thing, in what time, what they do, how long time they spend in each one. So it's developed also the course to understand all the pictures.
Yeah, Moodle has amazing tracking system. There's also course progress where the students can see, you know, how much they've done, but also the students can get the reports as well, Smadar, so that, yeah, so not only you, but they can also get and see, compare themselves to others in the course and see how they're doing. All right, so you guys ready for a Kahoot challenge? I'm not going to let you off that easily. All right, so how many of you have, I think it's worth your while, you're going to love it. How many of you have Kahoot accounts, free accounts? I see 2 hands up, 3, 4. All right, 4 out of almost everybody, but Asaf and Roxana, I guess you
Yes.
you do. I don't know about Honey. Honey, I don't know. I see yes, so Honey has it too. So just Asaf, I'm not sure about you. I think that yes is for this, right? Honey, it wasn't for something else. That's a beautiful tree there, beautiful flowers. All right. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is this. Remember the questions from the Padlet? You still have the Padlet open, right?
I closed it.
Well, you close, that's okay. I can remind you. All right, so let's go into, let me see if I've got a Kahoot open here. There, okay, there's a Kahoot, but you probably don't see it. Let me screen share so you can see that. There we go. All right, do you see that, Kahoot?
Yeah.
Okay, so right, this is my account and I can play the Kahoot. Okay, so I've got a Kahoot here ready about myself. This is what I usually ask my students to do, to introduce themselves using Kahoot and add appropriate images so that the images help and not hinder. So there's no guessing. It's very easy to get the answer. And if you go into, to turn this into a challenge, you need to go into share. Okay, you can share it like this, sorry. You need to go into play. When you go into play, you've got 2 options. One is to teach. Does everybody see that?
Yeah.
And one is to assign. You click on assign, and then notice I've already done this. You can, this is a challenge. So I can create a new one. Okay, let's say I want to create a new one, and then I decide on a time. Okay, I want it until the end of May, or the 23rd of May, and I can decide on the time. And then I click on create. And this is what I share with the students. I share, copy the URL. Okay, so let me copy the URL and add it to our chat. Okay, so you can get it. There we go. Okay, I hope I got it. Let me make sure that yes. All right, so there it is. So what happens when you click on it? You get a chance to do the Kahoot.
Yeah, ready, set.
Go. All right.
I thought Kahoot was mostly for multiple choice questions.
No, there are lots of possibilities. And I think they've added something. They keep adding new things. They're trying to improve it as we go. Anybody have a paid Kahoot?
No.
No? All right. So what I wanted you to do, and maybe you can still do it, it would be nice and share it with me. You've got my email, is to create a Kahoot for yourself, a challenge, and add the questions. And the questions, if you remember the question, there weren't that many. One question was, who are you as a learner? Who are you as a teacher? I can share that with you to make your life easier. There we go. So who are you as a learner? Who are you as a teacher? Is online instruction and learning any different for you? Please explain. And how would you like to evaluate your online course? Now, you're going to ask the questions, but you need to add choices, okay? Or you can do something else. You can also add a presentation, by the way. There are a lot of things that you can add. You can turn it into a lesson, which is really great to turn Kahoot into a lesson. And the idea is to add appropriate images. Now, the images can come from Kahoot or they can come from Google, as long as they're Creative Commons and you're not using, any image. But if you're using the images on Kahoot, they're all Creative Commons and you don't have to worry about copyright issues. So I'm looking forward to those of you that would like to share it with me. I think Arya sent today's message with all the emails, right?
Yeah.
Arya. So everybody has that. It wasn't BBB. So you all have it. So we could share, you could share yours and I'll create mine as well. And we'll see what we think and how the challenges and how well we do, because we'll see everybody doing the challenges. So when you think about it, we've got about 8 people here, 8 people times, 8 Kahoots. We could learn a lot.
But the Kahoot you just sent us, it's a multiple choice sort of.
It's just a challenge. What I wanted to show you was that you can create the challenge. That's what I'd like you to do, to create the challenge, just like that is a challenge. Allow us a few days so that we're not limited, by certain date. I try to make it as long as possible. And you can also extend the time if you've given it to the end of the month and your students would like more time, or we would like more time. You could be kind and give us more time. But the idea, of course, you'll see everybody's score. And it's very challenging because you see, oh, Daphna's at the top. And then Shira sees, oh, I have to go faster because I see that Daphna did a better job up to this point. So she'll try to do it even faster. The idea, of course, is to hit the next as quickly as you can. The fastest way to do a Kahoot is on your phone. If you're wondering how did she do it so quickly? It's basic. So it's really nice. And then you get a trophy, of course, if you're at the top. As soon as it ends, you can come back to it and you'll see who was first. So it gives everyone a chance to have some fun. All right, so I'd like to thank everyone. I'd like to see you in the course or the workshop that we're going to be giving. I'd like to thank Arya for his time with us. He's from MOFET. I don't know if you know Arya, but he's been listening and he's been here supporting us. So thank you, Arya, for that. And hope to see everyone. Thank you. It was really wonderful to have you. I'm looking forward to continuing to learn with and from you.
Nellie,
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Few words, just shortly, few words.
Yes, please.
I want to thank Nellie for organizing and leading the webinar. Also to the other lecturers who participated during the webinar, Professor Ludmila Smirnova, Dr. Ramesh
Sharma,
and Professor Eba
Ocean Nilsson.
Yes, and I hope that you found the seminar interesting, useful, and that it contributed to your professional knowledge. And we hope to see you again in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You
Bye-bye.
too.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
Thank you.
Nellie. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Are